I'm going to show you the easiest and simplest way to cook your veggies. You'll see broccoli, asparagus, and green beans. And I'll show you one simple, one intermediate, and one advanced way to amp up their flavor. You probably haven't even heard of the final spice I use. Let's get into it. This is actually my favorite way to eat broccoli, simply roasted with salt, freshly ground pepper, and olive oil. Let's talk about roasting itself. I get the best results when I use a heavy bottom rimmed baking sheet that's dull. I accidentally removed the finish on this one years ago, but then discovered that actually made my cooking better. A shiny baking sheet reflects away too much heat, preventing your food from browning well. To roast most vegetables, high heat gets the best results. I like to use 450 Fahrenheit or around 230 C. Prepping your veggie is very important to the final result. I think it's what makes the most difference. For broccoli, I like to go around and remove any leaves or florets that are too small and will burn while roasting. I also remove any dry or excessively fibrous parts of the plant, like the bottom of the stem. Save the rest though, broccoli stem is definitely underrated. Next, I remove the florets from the stem. I hold the head upside down and then lop off the florets one by one. When I get to the final ones on top, I cut them off together to make sure they'll be large enough to roast. Now to prepare the stem, I simply shave down the sides to reveal the tender core and have it. Then I have all the florets as well. This step is crucial. We want every floret to have a large surface to roast on so we get maximum browning. If you only take one thing away from this, please house your florets. Any pieces that are too small to have, I keep whole. I toss all the broccoli onto my baking sheet and coat it with extra virgin olive oil. For delicious veggies, don't be shy with oil. I used about 2 tablespoons here and it turned out delicious. Seasoned with kosher salt and freshly ground pepper. I left all the footage in so you can see exactly how much seasoning I put on, but just remember, if you're using table salt, you won't need as much since it's saltier than kosher salt. And if you're not using fresh black pepper, what are you doing? Toss that thoroughly with the best tool in the kitchen, your clean hands, and make sure to get the oil and seasoning into every nook. It's okay if you make a mess, this is in pursuit of a higher cause. This last step is where your hard work comes to fruition. Arrange your florets thoughtfully with their cut sides down, making sure there's sufficient oil to adhere them to the sheet. Also, space them out so hot air can circulate and crisp up their edges. Throw them in the oven for around 12 minutes, but this can be affected by things like your oven and humidity and whatnot. So I like to pull them off when they look crispy and brown around the edges, kind of like a cookie. Here's what you'll be greeted with on the other side. Deliciously crisp and brown broccoli with a sweet and nutty finish. And speaking of finishing, you can eat them immediately or finish them with a sprinkle of fresh lemon juice. A bit of acid goes a long way to amp up your vegetable experience. Now let's make something a little more elevated. Green beans with chili paste. It all starts with the beans. All you need to do is snap off the stem to get them ready to roast, and you can even skip that if you really want to. The stems just get really crunchy when you roast them, and they might stick your gums. Throw the beans on your pan, and you can use a bit less olive oil since they don't absorb as much as broccoli. Add salt, but be aware of how salty our secret ingredient is, fried chili paste, because we don't want to oversalt our dish. Toss thoroughly, and skip the freshly ground pepper since we'll be adding flavor afterwards. Arrange the beans on the pan, making sure they're laying flat, then roast for around 12 minutes or until they look blistered and browned like this. Throw them into a bowl and add a teaspoon or 2 to taste of your chili oil, and don't forget to get some of those chili chunks in. Optionally, add some minced cilantro and enjoy your nutty, spicy, fruity, and delicious green beans. Finally, let's go full gourmet with a long pepper gremolata over roasted asparagus. The gremolata will contain long pepper and coriander seed. You may have heard of coriander seed, which is what cilantro grows from, but probably not long pepper. It's similar to black pepper, but it's less pungent and sweeter, which means it works perfectly as a topping. Here's a description from Max Falkowitz at Serious Eats. Its finish lingers on the tongue with a tobacco-like coolness, where black pepper stings, long pepper balms. Toast 1½ teaspoons of each in a small skillet over low heat and pull when they're fragrant. While they're going, let's prepare the asparagus. We want young and fresh asparagus because asparagus loses its natural sweetness as it ages. It's important to trim the stalks because the starchy ends are tough and tasteless. Many people will recommend snapping the ends like a green bean, but let's do an experiment. When I snap the asparagus and then check the freshness with a knife, you can see by the friction that there's at least an inch of good asparagus that we would miss out on. And I've experienced worse examples when snapping. If you want to get the most from your asparagus, try this technique I found for myself. Attempt to cut through the asparagus slightly before where you assume it's dried out. This will often be around where the asparagus changes color. If you feel resistance on your knife, move it up a bit and try again. When it slides through easily, you're done. No asparagus waste. Repeat with all your asparagus. Now toss your asparagus with olive oil and salt, paying extra attention to their tips so they get crispy in the oven, and then arrange them in one layer on a baking sheet. While they roast, put your toasted spices into a mortar and pestle and grind into a coarse powder. Peel 4 cloves of garlic and mash them into a paste with the spices. Finally, zest 1 lemon and mix into your gremolata. When your asparagus is crisped and the tips are dark brown but not yet black, they're done. Liberally apply your gremolata and enjoy the feeling of doing something good for your body. Thanks for watching.